Hi, everybody.
Hello. We're
Scott
back.
and Jen here. We are back. And today's episode is a focus on video critiquing yourself.
Yes.
So, Jennifer, we were just talking about this like last week when we decided to do this episode. Share with the audience what we talked about.
Well, you called me last week and you were mentioning, hey, reviewing one of the podcasts we just recorded, that you noticed a filler word that you were using often throughout.
I was leading with so. A lot of sentences started with so, and that's one of my less desirable habits.
Well, and that's a good catch. That's a good catch. And when you said that, it triggered what I have been noticing about myself during our podcasts is I'm thinking as I'm speaking. And so as I'm thinking, I will have these lengthy pauses as I'm gathering my thoughts. And I don't like how that comes across. And so that is feedback that I'm learning about myself during these podcasts.
Now, does noticing that kind of thing just make you like hate yourself, like fill you with self-loathing? Because a lot of my clients, I'll be honest, I'm not free of that myself, but a lot of my clients go, I hate looking at myself. I can't stand looking at myself.
Because they don't do it enough.
Yeah.
I don't beat myself up for it. I used to beat myself up when I would video record little short videos that I would post on LinkedIn. Scott, I would take 25 takes before I would master a 60-second clip. And I thought, this is ridiculous. This is not about perfection. However, I love watching our videos because it's a reminder of how we are coming across, how we look, how we sound.
Yeah. Can I share a story?
Please.
It's a great metaphor for videotaping yourself and speaking.
Okay.
I love to swim. I like to stay in shape by going to the pool. And I belong to something called the Masters swim team now, which makes me sound like I'm a masterful swimmer, but it just means I'm old. Code for old guy or old people swimming. That's not true. I mean, it's 19 years old and up. But anyway, I grew up swimming competitively during the summer. And so this is one of the things I do to stay in shape. But I also want to swim well. I'm swimming backstroke one day and I'm seeing that my feet are kind of waving back and forth behind me. And having been a swimmer and a swim coach for a while, I'm like, this is not right. My feet aren't supposed to be sort of waving behind me in this weird snake-like motion. They should be straight. And I asked the coach, I said, could you take a look at my backstroke? And I swam 2 laps and I came up, what do you see? And he goes, well, do it again and let me videotape you. And he got out his iPad. And when I came back and I watched the videotape, here's the first thing that happens. It's like, ugh, yuck.
So
because in my head, I mean, I hadn't seen a videotape of me swimming for years, decades. In my head, I have this sort of image of what I am and what I'm doing as a swimmer. And of course, it's very close to Michael Phelps, right? I expect this
I doubt that.
Elegant, straight arms and I look tall and lean and efficient. But what I saw in the video did not look tall and lean and efficient. I saw 2 things. I saw kind of a shape that was clearly not Michael Phelps-like, not masterful. And I saw that my arms were bending up over my head and I was overreaching, which was part of the reason that my feet were going back and forth, The reason I share that story is because I think we have to tell everybody it's okay to have that moment of ew, but you have to recognize that letting that stop you, letting that sort of stay there and get in your way will not help you at all. Just makes you feel lousy about yourself, and then you don't make progress. So the first message to our listeners is, Like, videotaping yourself is super important if you really are committed to improving. Do not let your self-conscious kind of ego stop you. I mean, right?
Well, yes. However, Scott, that's easier said than done for some folks. Okay, so I'm going to give a couple of tips on how to ease your way into video recording yourself.
Love it.
I've done these techniques, and so I live by them, and they have certainly helped. Record just a couple of minutes. If you're preparing to give a presentation, for example, just record your opening to your presentation and then watch it. What are you noticing? How do you look? How do you sound? Do you have filler words? Is your speaking pace too quick? So it really helps you to identify how you're truly coming across. So I love breaking it up into little chunks. I feel that's more digestible for us. And these videos are so valuable because video does not lie. We might wish that it did. However, it's the truth of how we truly look and sound.
Well, now let me add one more thing, and it goes back to the swimming thing. Just watching yourself without a coach to give you a little bit of guidance can be dangerous.
True.
It's really
true.
true.
Professional.
You do. You need a little professional input. And this is going to feel like sort of a shameless plug, but when I'm swimming, I was having as I described, my problem with my feet going back and forth. And part of the cause was my arms were bending up over my head, and it was sort of pushing me around the lane. But it was later, as I was improving that aspect of my swimming, that my coach said, push your chin to the opposite shoulder as your hand enters the water. And I'm like, okay, so push my chin back toward my shoulder. And I did that. I never would have seen that watching the video. I never would have known to do that watching the video. But he's such a great swim coach and such an expertise of the physics of swimming that suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, I am no longer fighting myself. My feet are nice and stable. I'm swimming right down the lane. And even though I feel like I'm pushing my chin back and forth, in the video I look and it's staying perfectly still the way it should be. The point of all this is be careful about critiquing yourself. You may see things and conclude, oh, I'm using my hands too much, when an expert like you and I would say, it's not that you're using your hands too much, it's that you're just using them poorly.
Yeah.
You just need to change one thing about what you're doing. Yeah.
Well, Scott, that's a really good point, because I notice with clients, when they watch back a short video clip, they can easily identify, oh, that's my filler word, or I'm going crazy with my gestures, or I'm not able to make eye contact. They're able to identify what needs to be worked on. However, it's getting the skills and the techniques to work on those areas.
Right. What's our final thought? What would you leave our listeners with?
I would say, bite the bullet. If you really don't like video recording yourself, grab your phone, prop it up in your bathroom, record a minute. Just give yourself 1 minute. Watch it over again. What's standing out to you? And the more you do this, the more comfortable it's going to feel to watch and listen to yourself on video. It takes practice.
And I would say, think of it a little bit like, I use swimming, but I would say maybe like batting practice in baseball, where you go into a batting cage and everything's very artificial and set up. So you can work on your coordination system over and over and over again. Set up your practice environment like that and know that, hey, I'm videotaping myself to get a little bit better. Commit to 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and do it. And then you're going to take that out into the world, into your actual conversations.
I also want to add, when you watch back your video, instead of tearing it into 50 different pieces of how bad it was, just focus on one skill. Just focus on one area that you want to improve on, and then re-record focusing on that one area. And then when you watch that video back, you're going to see progress, which is exciting. And then it encourages you to want to continue with this practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I call them micro skills, although it's just a fancy word for what you just described. And looking for little wins, just celebrating each little win. That keeps you going.
Absolutely.
Jennifer, what is our topic for next week?
Next week, we're going to talk about how to close your presentation. This is really important, Scott, because it's the last impression your audience is going to have from you at the end of your presentation.
Yep. And that's the last you'll see of us today with this episode. So we hope you got a good impression. We love that you're listening. Hey, and I just have to say this. If you like what you're hearing, please leave a review, rate us. All that stuff helps to drive more people to learn about our podcast.
Thanks everyone.
All right, bye.